Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Catherine Lorimer's Guide to Life podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the previous two editions. Or is it three? Can't remember now. God, remember, it's such a busy weekend. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing, whether I'm coming or going. Anyway, I'm really excited for this week's podcast, okay, because it's the first one of the Haunted series. A ghost hunt. I'm going to call it ghost hunt. Let's go on a ghost hunt. Ghostbusters, and let's go on a ghost hunt. The reason I'm doing all this is because my lovely other half doesn't believe in ghosts, right? Now, I've seen a few things in my time, actually. I've seen quite a lot of things. And recently, I went to a big country house, which I have ties to the people who built it and live there. And basically, I was in one of the rooms and I felt a tap on my shoulder, on my right shoulder. And I'm like, right, okay, that's interesting. And I turned round and there were three other people in the room. One was the person who was like looking after the room, and there were other two guests, and they were like about 4 meters away from me. So there's no way it could have been either of them. And that was a bit bizarre. And the same thing happened to me in a church where I was. We went to watch a concert actually a couple of months ago in a church, and I sat there and again I had a tap on the shoulder. I looked behind and there was like no one behind me, and it was just like, it was really bizarre, really, really weird. So anyway, I thought, right, okay, I'm going to go along and we can do a bit of a ghost hunt, trying to see if I can get him to believe in ghosts, because I think there's I think too many people have seen too many things, for it not to be sort of true. So I thought, right, let's go along to Denbigh Castle. So we did. I've done a few in Flintshire to start off with. It will be Denbighshire. Sorry, Flint and Denbighshire. We'll call it. It's probably Denbighshire. And the first we start with Denbigh Castle. Now, all castles are haunted, aren't they? This is actually a ruin. Okay. Lots of ghosts there, apparently. It's also supposed to be haunted by a dragon. Yeah. And also like a 3-fingered or 3 or 8-fingered slayer, and a white lady apparently, and also the ghost of a child of the actual person who built the castle. There's also apparently a woman who dropped her baby down this well. There's a really deep well there. So we went along. And it was in the daytime, to be fair, so it was not as if it was actually at night. And I've got lots of pictures. I mean, it wasn't even that creepy, if I'm honest. Not really creepy at all. I didn't really find it creepy at all. So we had a good look round. It honestly, absolutely stunning views. Check out my social media posts of it for this week, because they are, the views are absolutely spectacular. And you can go along all around the outside. So we walked all around the outsides and didn't get any sort of like feeling, no tapping on the shoulder, nothing at all whatsoever. Because I have had instances where, because my student house, when we think it was haunted, and we'd all sort of like seen things or felt things independently. And I remember we were sat down in my student bedroom. This is me and my 4 housemates and a couple of other friends. And somebody said, I think there might be something in this house. And I was like, do you know what? I've had a feeling that I'm being watched when I'm in the bathroom. It was a bit strange. It was a really odd feeling. And then my 2 female sort of friends piped up going, yeah, do you know what? I've had exactly the same feeling in the bathroom as well. It was a bit bizarre. And then one of the housemates joked, I'll think of a name for the ghost. And I thought of a name, Fred, but I didn't say it. And then all of a sudden, one of my other 2 housemates said Fred. And it was like, whoa, we both thought of the same name. That was just really, really bizarre. Then after that, stopped. Went away. No more bizarre sort of circumstances. So I've seen other things as well. I've had occasions where I've been sat in a car and I have heard my ex-husband was chatting to a couple that we know in a farmhouse that we know is been haunted. There's been like loads of sightings of different things. And I heard his footsteps come up to the car and the window was open. It was a summer's night. And then I was waiting for him to open the door and I thought, why hasn't he opened the door? I looked up and he was still in the kitchen. That can't. And also when we were travelling back from Glasgow to Cheshire one night, and we were both kind of getting a bit tired, and I was wearing some leather gloves. My hands were a bit hot, so I'd taken them off. And this is a particular part of the stretch, which is it's known for a Civil War battleground. Let's put it that way. And just as we were kind of going along one stretch, I saw what I thought was a hand come up, and I thought that was a bit weird. Maybe it was just my imagination. And then the ex-husband said, "Did you just try and grab the steering wheel?" And I said, "No." I said, "But I saw something as well." And we both seen the same thing. He saw a hand come up. It was a black hand, and he thought it tried to grab the steering wheel, and I kind of, I just thought, it was a black hand. But the interesting thing is there have been quite a lot of crashes on that road. Yeah, so I'll just leave that there. So I have got a bit of experience. I've also seen a ghost of like a surgeon, not from this time, and it's actually at my place of work now. Not the ward that I'm on, but I remember waking up. I had a horrible horse riding accident, and I remember waking up through some point through the night, and this person was sat on my bed right next to me, looking over me. And I remember his face. I can still see it now. So if I saw a picture of him, then I'd recognise him. So they're kind of the few things that I've seen. So I do really believe in things. So, and you sometimes get a feeling about a place, but I didn't get any feelings. I walked all the way around. Didn't get any feelings at all about anything. There were no kind of parts I didn't want to go into. There were no parts that I thought, no, I don't really feel happy here. The only bizarre thing that did happen was when I was going walking from one of the towers, and it's so reading back some of the stories, it's apparently a place where a white lady ghost has been seen walking on the walkways at the top. There were my other half. He was like, because you can't take the dogs up on that bit, so he was on the green in the middle, and he was sat with the dogs, and his dog started barking, which he hadn't done when he was up there. But when I was up there, for some reason, he just started barking, and he was looking at me while he was doing it, which was a little bit bizarre. I mean, we were kind of like making a joke, he's barking, he's more worried because you're up there, and I wasn't. Well, I was like, really sorry, but I wasn't bothered about you, but there we go. It's just one of those. But you never know, because animals often see things which humans don't. And I do remember I lived in a really, really old farmhouse at one point. And it was really bizarre because we'd quite often be sat on the sofa, and then you'd see the dogs, look at something and then follow something across the room, and then through the other door. And actually that brings to me to the ghost that I saw at that house where we'd had a major Barney. And it's like, coming to kind of, unfortunately, the end of a marriage, you do tend to fall out quite a lot. That's why, why you end up getting divorced. But I had a major Barney, and he'd stomped off, and he'd left me to park the horse trailer on my own in a really, really difficult location. And I just remember looking in my rearview mirror and seeing a fairly shortish, fairly stockish kind of guy in like brown tweed clothing and a brown tweed hat. Flat cap thing. And apparently I didn't know at the time, but there was a pig farm that used to be there, so could well have been him, I don't know, but it was almost as if he was kind of watching me reverse. But then it was really funny as well, because there'd be times when I was struggling to carry things, and like ex-husband hadn't bothered helping me, and I was struggling to get doors open, and they would just open in front of me. I kind of got used to that. It was actually fairly common for that sort of thing to happen. It's almost as if to say, it's okay, don't worry, I'll help you with this. So, and they're also quite frequently like little orbs of light going backwards and forwards. But yeah, so I've seen a few things. So that's where but I didn't pick up anything in Denbigh Castle whatsoever. However, it was really, really interesting. Views are spectacular. It was only about sort of £6.20 to get in, so not really very expensive. And, so if you do fancy you are up that way, then definitely do go and support them and take a look and have a look at it. Because, it was quite cool, some of the rock formations and stuff. And, all the, sort of, because it is a ruin, they've crumbled over time, but they're really interesting. So now I'm going to move on to the really, really interesting one. Okay. So I was went up to the caravan to stay on my own, actually, because the other half had gone off on a weekend away with one of his mates. And I was reading so I was doing some research for this podcast, and I thought, right, okay, White Lady of Prestatyn, what's that? And apparently it's a ghost of a white lady that apparently it's been seen quite a lot. And I have got through, and I've got more evidence, and we'll go through it afterwards, what other people have seen. But I just wanted to let you know my experiences. So I decided I'd take Pippa for a bit of a walk. So I drove up there, parked up, and then walked down. And I wasn't actually entirely sure exactly where it was, to be honest with you. I couldn't quite make it out. It's between the gardens and the Nova Centre, but I wasn't really sure what that area was, and I couldn't quite work it out as I was walking along with Pippa. So as I was walking along with Pippa, I was kind of like, I'm not really sure, kind of where I'm going. But I got to a certain point and I thought, I don't really want to go any further. I feel really, really uncomfortable about going any further. And it was just a feeling I had. I couldn't really explain it. And I just thought, no, I think I want to leave now. And I turned around and I went back. Now, we went off, we were up there again, the half night. So I was like, right, come on, you can come with me this time. Because the one thing that seems to be quite obvious is that quite a lot of the sightings have been people who are not from the area. Anyway, so I kind of was walking along and got to the same sort of spot, and I felt the same really strange feeling. I can't quite explain it. It was just felt really uncomfortable being in that particular spot. So then we went past all these things, and it was like there's a few cafes and stuff. And then we actually went left. And it was at that point I realised that actually was the Nova Centre, but it didn't say on the other side. So we'd actually been walking past exactly where the person has been seen quite a bit, which was really bizarre. Just because I kind of, I felt really, I can't quite describe it. It was just a really kind of like, don't really feel comfortable. And I stopped the first time and thought, I don't want to go along there anymore. I don't really want to. I'm going to turn around and go back. So I did. But anyway, I wanted to kind of go through like my experiences of those particular places. And now I'm going to have a look at what other people have kind of seen, the White Lady of Prestatyn. As I took people with me the first time, so no reactions, because obviously dogs usually quite react to things, which is why it was interesting when, Flash barked, but that could have just been, anything. And Pippa and I went off. The best time of day to see her apparently is sort of around twilight in the evening, or, in the time of the dark. I went in the daytime because I was just a bit too scared, to be honest with you. Bit of a wuss. I'm scared of the dark. So I certainly didn't want to go there on my own in the dark. So there's been loads of sightings, I say, of this apparition. And it's just, she is described as a tall lady dressed in white. And I think there's even a pub called the White Lady after her. And say it's usually between the Nova Play area and the Festival Gardens, although she has been seen at other areas on the promenade. Now, she's usually seen by dog walkers, out for the night stroll in particular. They kind of report a strange sensation, which was interesting because that's exactly what I experienced. I couldn't quite explain it. It was just a bit weird. And apparently dogs have known to become really afraid and run at the sight of her. And there's a lady called Angela Hewitt saw her in the 1990s, and her and her partner noticed a woman in white walking towards them, who then suddenly disappeared. And in 1975, a man from Rill was out walking his dog when a woman in white appeared in front of him, and the dog was absolutely terrified. So he picked his dog up. Now, the apparition came towards him, at which point the dog wriggled free, ran off, and the ghost ran right through him like a cold icicle. And he observed that it was a faceless nun. You could tell by the clothing. Now, he located his dog underneath his car, shaking as he was absolutely terrified. Now, the same ghost has also been seen by an elderly couple, okay? They came across her sitting on a wall reading a book, and she looked up, and then, much to the couple's astonishment, just vanished. Another sighting was by a lady called Irene Crum, and she'd gone with her father to recover fishing lines. And she noticed a woman in white walking along the promenade. And both Irene and her father watched her walking for a few minutes, and then she disappeared. And they really couldn't, kind of work out where she'd gone. But then they worked out afterwards that it must have been the White Lady. And then they say some of these next ones were kind of from the BBC sort of website. The BBC kind of like did like a thing about it, and there's like a page somewhere. And you know how you can kind of like comment underneath, and loads of people have put loads of comments on about things that they'd seen. Apparently a guy called Craig from Manchester was with a group of friends on the dunes one night when he got a really uneasy feeling. And his friend said he saw a white old-fashioned lady's hat, and they could smell like dandelion and burdock, and then they heard faint singing noises which had been heard as well. Someone called Gemma from Derbyshire reported that her mother and her were walking along the prom at sunset when they saw a translucent woman walking up and down with her nose in a book. And they quickly walked away, not surprisingly, and then they turned around and she was gone. Dave from, I'm not quite sure where Dave was from, he power kites apparently on Prestatyn Beach. And he said he'd seen the apparition quite a few times, walking between Rhyl and Prestatyn, and rumour has it that she actually committed suicide there. Now, the last one, which is, I have to say, really, really particularly creepy. It was a guy called Steve from Manchester, and he said that he and his friend Katie decided to take a trip to Prestatyn, and they parked in the Nova car park, and in the kind of in the dark. This was at night, and they saw a round blue orb jump into the sea, and when they looked they saw the White Lady in the sea. And apparently his friend Katie was so scared that she actually made Dave get back into the car again and kind of get away from the situation. So it does look as if the ghost appears to visitors of the town. So if you are a holiday maker and a keen ghost hunter, then make sure that you do take a stroll up the promenade between Rhyl and Prestatyn around about the Nova Centre. And it was, I felt really uneasy. I didn't see anything. I just felt uncomfortable and uneasy. But the second time I kind of knew where she was, but I didn't really know where the Nova Centre was. When I first walked along there, I hadn't really done any research. I just read that she could be seen along this promenade bit. And as I say, I went to this bit and just thought, no, I don't want to go any further. I can't quite explain it, but I just feel really, really uncomfortable and strange. So no sightings of her, didn't actually see her. Probably will see one at some point. So going to finish a little bit early there because that's my 2 ghostly tales for this week. Quite exciting. So, do feel free to go and check them all out for yourself. And anyway, so hope you enjoyed that one. It was quite exciting for me, a bit more interesting than the last things I've been doing. And I will catch you next time.